We're needing to simplify a surd to begin with, so let's just grab the pen. So we are doing 3 root 5 all squared. Now 3 root 5 is just a number, it's actually the square root of 45, which we could say if we were to wanted to put this back in surd form, we could write 3 as root 9 times by root 5, and so we're just reversing the process, so we've got root 45 here. This is not really the way in which I would expect most students to answer this question, but then if you've got root 45 and we are squaring that, we end up with 45. Now the other way to do this, which is the way I would expect most students to do this, is to say, well, I'm doing the number bit squared times by the surd squared. So we know that 3 squared, 3 times 3 is equal to 9. And root 5 squared, so if we square a square root, we undo the square root, so we are going to be multiplying that by 5. And again, we come to the correct answer, which is 45 for this question. For part B then, slightly more involved, but actually using what we've just done in part A. So instead of writing out B as it is in the question, I'm going to use the fact that I've just simplified this to 45. So it's 45 plus root 5 divided by 7 plus 3 root 5. Now, as the theory says over there, we multiply top and bottom by the conjugate of the denominator. So 7 minus 3 root 5. And top and bottom, so all we're doing is multiplying this fraction here by 1, because anything divided by itself just gives us 1. So now we've got two double brackets to expand. So you don't need to do this in your exam if you can do this slightly faster. I'm just going to take my time here. So I've got this one is being multiplied by 7 minus 3 root 5. And my denominator, 7 plus 3 root 5, is being multiplied by 7 minus 3 root 5. So I've got 45 times 7, so 45 times by 7, and it's important in our Core 1 exam to be able to do our maths reasonably quickly. So 45 times 7 there using multiplication is 315. I've then got 45 times minus 3 root 5. So 3 lots of 45, 90, 135. So I'm minus 135 root 5 and plus 7 root 5. And then I've got this one, root 5 times minus 3 root 5. So the root 5s are going to multiply to make 5, and 3 times 5 is 15, so I'm taking away 15 from my fraction there. My denominator should be slightly more straightforward because the whole process of this is to try and remove the surd part. So I have 7 times 7, which is 49. I then get, if I'm doing this one first, minus 21 root 5 plus 21 root 5. And finally, minus times a positive is going to be minus, and then it's going to be 9, 5 times 5 minus 45 there. Okay, so I've just done 3 root 5 times minus 3 root 5 to give myself 45 there. Tidying up the top and bottom, so bringing everything together, I've got 315 take away 15, which is just 300, and minus 135 plus 7, which is minus 128 root 5, and all of that is being divided by, well, 49 minus 5 is 4, and the surd parts cancel each other out. So looking back at the question, I want it in the form m plus n root 5, where m and n are integers. So I'm having to divide both 300 and minus 128 root 5 by 4. So dividing by 4, half it and half it again. If we want a quick tactic for Core 1, so half of 300 is 150, half of 150 is 75, half of 128 is let's just take my time over this, 64. I think that's not true. So half of 100 is 50, half of 28 is 14. So no, 64 was fine. And I want a half 64, which is 32 root 5, which is the final answer that I'm looking for. M is 75 and N is minus 32.